Whew. All right, Super Bowl weekend. Let's get to it. So, we're here to talk brands, sports, culture, creators. We live in the attention economy. There's no larger collective attention moment than Super Bowl. We're all watching the same commercials, the same activations, extending onto social with creators and celebs. Assembled the best and brightest to talk about how brands show up in culture. So please give your attention to our distinguished panel. They will introduce themselves and what they do at their respective companies. Haley?
Yeah, so I'm Haley Davison. I am with Yum Brands under KFC Global. I'm in an interesting position. I'm on the digital and technology team, but I dotted line into marketing because our big focus this year and for the next 3, 4, 5 years is really bridging the gap between digital, technology, and marketing, collecting customer data, growing the loyalty database, which I think a lot of us are focused on. What's interesting also about my role is I get to work with KFC all over the world. We're in 160 countries, so huge global footprint, and the way that KFC shows up in different countries, it varies, and it's really exciting to see how the brand shows up all over the world.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Paul?
Yeah, Paul Pettas. I oversee brand and communications for Sodexo Live. Many folks in the room probably know Sodexo. You may have eaten food from Sodexo in your high school or university or any more of the thousands of places that we service throughout the world. Sodexo Live is the dedicated brand within Sodexo that focuses on stadiums, arenas, zoos, aquariums, a brand that we just launched in September 2021 to basically differentiate from Sodexo and to standalone entity for the sports world. So I oversee all of our PR, essentially our social media. It is a standalone function, so we work closely with the marketing team within our organization, and I oversee everything for North America.
Thanks, Paul.
Hi everybody, my name is Kamal Bhandal, and I oversee and lead all of the consumer and brand marketing for the Invisalign brand. How many of you all have heard about the Invisalign brand? A few? Good. So I have the great pleasure of really developing this brand and working alongside an amazing group of marketers worldwide. We are available worldwide, and excited to be here and be a part of this conversation.
How many people actually have Invisalign? Yes.
Nice. We love that, both past and present and future.
Well, beautiful. And guys, I'm Ryan Detert. I'm the CEO and founder of Influential, the largest influencer marketing company by revenue in the space, and work with some of the clients that are on the stage today. KFC's been a long-time partner as well, Yum. And I guess I wanted to ask, I'll start with you, Haley. What are the ways that your organization shows up in culture, both nationally and internationally?
Yeah, I think, so internationally, well, at Global, we provide a lot of frameworks, right, and playbooks for all of our markets to use. So when it comes to brand showing up in culture, we have 2 pillars, of course, organic and then like planned and earned media. But taste, no matter what, taste is our #1 message, no matter where you are in the world. So what's important for us is like food, our food has to show up when we're showing up in culture, otherwise we're not being authentic. So what we do is we encourage our markets to always pick a few lanes to play in, right? Whether it's sports or music, pick those categories that resonate the most authentically in their markets with their consumers and go all in on those categories. That way we're being very strategic and genuine with where we show up rather than just like casting a wide net, right? Sports is big in QSR, of course, mostly because watching a game or going to a game is a huge eating occasion. So we want to be, we're QSR and we know it and we like to own that. So sports is really big for us, whether we're partnering with an athlete or with the NFL or having a Super Bowl spot, right? So in the US, we've focused on NFL a lot and NBA historically. And then like Australia, I think we were talking about this at lunch, some of us. In KFC Australia, it's really a big deal to wear a KFC bucket on your head during cricket games or cricket matches. So it's really like around the world it's different, but sports is always really at the forefront.
It's a great unifier.
What was that?
Sports, a great unifier.
It really is, yeah. And then we have some markets that have really lean media budgets, or maybe no media budget, really. So we have some markets like KFC Spain, for example. They're great at hijacking culture and creating cultural moments with just like TikTok or tweeting something, a few years ago there was a storm, like a dust storm that hit Europe, and so KFC Spain tweeted in the morning, if you show up to a KFC and you've put a KFC logo in the dust on your car, you'll get a free order of chicken or a free bucket. And so thousands of people, it went viral, thousands and thousands of people had KFC logos written into the dust in their car. So it's just hijacking moments when you don't have the budget, right?
A quick follow-up. So you're global. Would you stay predominantly still Meta, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, or are there other things you're touching? You're touching data, so you touch all the different platforms.
Actually, it's not really social per se, but in some of our markets, WhatsApp is huge. So Latin America, South Africa, it's actually a huge access point for digital ordering as well through WhatsApp. So a lot of marketing is done through WhatsApp as well.
That's great. Paul?
Yeah, so I think for us, we're a hospitality company. We are in the business of live events and live experiences and live sports. We oversee the hospitality, food, beverage, concessions for everything from Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, the Superdome in New Orleans, 2025, host of the Super Bowl. So we're very excited for that, to have it back in one of our venues in 2 years. But it ranges from everything from football to baseball to museums and zoos and aquariums. And the thing for us is really making our venues and our partners shine. So that when you come to an event with one of our partners, you're going to have great food, you're going to have a great experience. We're in the business of making memories for our guests, for our fans, for the people who spend their hard-earned money to come spend time with us at our venues. We want you to leave well fed and you've had a great experience with a menu that really reflects the local cuisine of that country, of that market. This year we're hosting a handful of big events, everything from F1 Miami. Any F1 fans here have watched Drive to Survive? Just incredible the way that's burst onto the scene in the last year. We're excited for our second go-around in May down at Hard Rock Stadium. We've got the MLB All-Star Game this summer in Seattle at T-Mobile Park. We'll have Roland Garros, the French Open. Internationally, we oversee everything basically in France. The restaurants in the Eiffel Tower, to the French Open, to the boats on the Seine. We'll have the Athletes Village at Paris 2024 next summer. And really the goal always for us is to make sure that our chefs are really capturing that local cuisine, that our chefs are really capturing what it means to provide a menu that's authentic to the region, to the city. And so we shine when our venues shine. We're a little different from the brands on this panel in that we're a little more B2B focused. We really don't necessarily go direct to consumer with what we do, but our venues and our teams do. Our goal is to make sure that people know that going to an event at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami is, for example, Miami Open tennis in 2 weeks. We really try to make sure that the food story shines through, and so that everything you come to expect at a great event really ties back to that food piece for us.
You must have all the frequent flyer miles.
There's a handful of frequent flyer miles, and I'm always well fed when I travel too. So yeah.
Well, you're very svelte otherwise.
I'll just add one thought there. We certainly have a lot in common because we too are a B2B brand.
Yeah.
So we don't actually sell directly to the consumer, but we certainly are in the business of, our purpose and everything that we do from a culture standpoint is trying to transform smiles and change lives. So anytime we're a part of culture, we try to ensure that we really deepen that relationship. So from a sports standpoint, as an example, we've got more than 200 NFL players actually in Invisalign treatment. Being a football player or any sort of athlete, Invisalign versus braces, that choice becomes a real obvious one. And then also, but more than that, we really try to embed ourselves into communities in a really deep way. So we've got a partnership with the Warriors as well, local to the Bay Area. And one of the things that we do as a part of the culture component is really embed ourselves into their youth programs and enable some programs like basketball academies that might come up over the summer for children to participate in that they otherwise would not have been able to.
Well, it sounds like you're already, next question, you're already doing it. So you have 200 athletes. Do you think of a difference between celebrity athletes and creators? Is it all the same to you? Is it more PR focused, more media measurement? How do you think about the ecosystem when it comes to culture and creators?
Yeah, we really think about it holistically, right? So first and foremost is there a natural fit between what the creator or the athlete is looking for in our brand? In a lot of instances with athletes who have busy schedules, don't have a lot of time for those emergency appointments to go into that doctor's practice, want to eat the foods that they want to eat, etc., we're that natural fit. But we really do think about athletes and creators in a lot of the same ways, thinking about them across that full funnel, not just top of funnel or bottom of funnel, but across that full funnel, and really globally across all the other markets like Haley was talking about. That becomes that common thread in terms of how we activate across the different markets. But the key really for us and what we find to be super impactful is when that creator or that athlete has a really strong story that resonates and is a part of culture. We partnered with a gymnast, an Olympic gymnast in Brazil, who had this wonderful story of not really being the front runner, but maybe a little bit of the underdog. But with her Invisalign treatment, that added to her confidence. And so she was able to come out and tell that story in a really beautiful way.
Well, culture, when you think about that, it's what makes you emotively laugh or cry or feel something special. And you guys have done a tremendous job. I think by the hands raised in this room, you guys have done a tremendous job. Let's switch over to Haley. In terms of your side, what do you think about creators? I mean, you live in that world where you're hyper data focused, which I'm a big nerd. I love that. Do you think of it as it's a way to capture new leads? Is it a way to apply these first party data points you guys use for activation and for foot traffic or whatever you guys are trying to do?
Yeah, for me, from my experience, it's typically, I look at it as top of funnel, but also across like PR, earned media, and like for us, at least in the restaurant space, let's say we launch an activation with a creator or an athlete, which we look at in the same way, we might see a huge boost in chatter, buzz that we're driving on social. It helps with more media impressions from a PR standpoint. But I have seen it where some creator campaigns can lead to transactions for us. That's what we're looking for at the end of the day, right? Getting you to place an order. So sometimes it does work like full funnel, but I typically look at it as a way to drive more impressions and more buzz for a campaign, and therefore filling the top of the funnel. And then I look at it as like my team's job to actually capture the data as like the leads are coming in or new customers are coming into the app, let's say, to place an order from that campaign. Let's capture their data and then use it to segment later on. Yeah.
It shortens the funnel to some degree because the same video could be both a review and drive to some sort of path to purchase, yes, social commerce, or otherwise. So
yeah, and always looking for ways to take an activation with a creator into the digital world, right? So that we are able to actually capture the data from it.
So Paul, so slightly different business because of your stuff, but are you getting at when you go to F1, you get Hamiltons and the family to come out and share that content? How much is it important for you?
Yeah, so I mean, we obviously have worked with athletes in the past at our teams, and I was remiss before not to mention the KFC Yum Center in Louisville. That's ours as well. Obviously the best of the venues. Yeah, I mean, just this past year, we launched a program at Lucas Oil Stadium with the Indianapolis Colts. If you watch Hard Knocks at all, last year the Colts were on there, and Grover Stewart, one of the defensive ends, was talking all about his chicken wing recipe and how he's a famed chicken wing master. And so in the off season, we talked to his team through the Colts, and we actually launched Grover's chicken wings in the stadium for fans to enjoy in the concourses. We launched a similar program with Shaquille Leonard, the star linebacker for the Colts. Turns out he's a big foodie, so we had a featured Maniac burger. His nickname's the Maniac. We had a featured burger every week, and we saw a really nice bump in traffic to the featured burger stands this past year using the clout of of Shaquille Leonard and with Grover Stewart. We saw it was a really fun engagement, and it drove business. The Colts were really proud that we were able to act in real time, and for a company and an industry, I think that gets pigeonholed sometimes as just being kind of old school. It was a good way to kind of show ourselves in a new light and endear ourselves to our clients and our stadium partners. So it's something that we're constantly trying to do, and when it comes together, it can be a real nice end result. And selfishly, obviously being a PR person, I like when there's a story, and as you were saying before, the importance of storytelling. So things like that really tell a nice story. This past year in Seattle, we launched the first Amazon Just Walk Out store. Not exactly an athlete or a person, but having the story again of having the first Just Walk Out store in Seattle saw crazy lift in numbers and transactions, and we were almost able to treat the Just Walk Out technology like a person there this year and promote it as our newest hire per se to our team there in Seattle. And so we definitely like to think outside the box, and for us, anytime we can check off the PR box but also check off the business box, it helps everyone. So
speaking of stories, this is for anybody, which brand is doing it right this year for Super Bowl, or any year if you can't think of this year, because it's obviously still hasn't come out in full effect? Is anything going to stand the test of time?
I think everything Invisalign's doing obviously has been fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Paul.
No, you go for it.
Well, I'll start. I love that you said Invisalign. Definitely check us out over at the convention center. But I'll say on the flight over this morning, I was viewing a few ads, and I'll say that the Google Pixel ad, they always get me every year, and I think they just continue to get better and better. And what strikes me about their ad is they do an incredible job of storytelling, but also focusing on what their core points of differences are and dramatizing those points through really engaging storytelling. So the Fix It with Pixel, if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. They've done a great job with it. Kudos to that team for continuing to
Is there a specific celebrity in there, or is it just really good content?
There's not one specific one, but there's a few.
Okay, very cool.
I think the Breaking Bad ad that was launched from Popcorners, Pop Chips, I forget what it's called. Is it Popcorners? Yeah. Was brilliant. I'm also partial to FanDuel, everything that they've been doing with Gronk. I think when you have a real moment, when your parents text you saying that they saw it and think it's cool. My dad was like, see, Gronk's kicking a field goal this year. So FanDuel's doing something right, that it breaks through to my father, because that's the biggest barometer of all. So I think that one really stands out for me. So
we actually are doing the extension for creators for that campaign on TikTok, and using a very cool fun funnel, or a fun AR piece for it. Yeah, whenever you can take something that is potentially one of the greatest shows of all time, and then make it actually like true to the consumer that watched it, but really actually funny. I think that one will be remembered for the next decade or so.
It was really well done.
Yeah, definitely. And for you?
Yeah, I think for me, what always stands out as a consumer and as a marketer, it's the clever ads that also tap into nostalgia. Like whether it's a show or, I don't know, we saw the Caddyshack one earlier, right? Yeah. So for me, that's, I don't know, I think you're just hitting a variety of audiences with that. Maybe it's not always storytelling, but I think you're just capturing, I don't know, different demographics and audiences with that. So I'm excited to see, I think there's some good nostalgic ones coming out this year that I'm excited for, so. But I haven't seen the Google Pixel one. Looking forward to
check it out.
And all of the M&M's chatter, I know she was up here before from Mars. I think the Maya Rudolph spokesperson story, I'm curious to see where that ends up. I bet there's a twist coming after Super Bowl, but it's been really fun to follow along the last few days.
All right, time for the halftime speech. You're acting as a coach, and these are your marketers. These marketers are actually your team, your players. You're down by 2 touchdowns. The year started off with recessionary fears, IDFA, cookie deprecation. What do you tell this team, your team, on how to win in 2023 in marketing?
Buckle up.
Uplift them a little bit.
That's a good question. Yeah. I think for me and for my teams, we're really trying to, when it comes to customer data especially, we're trying to get better about segmentation. So just with the recession and everything, and budgets are getting cut. I think we're probably all dealing with that. Just getting smarter, using data, getting smarter with how you're targeting offers. So like in the restaurant spaces, there's a lot of discounts and offers all the time, but you don't really want to just batch and blast offers from a financial standpoint, obviously. But at the same time, your consumers are deal seekers right now, and we expect that throughout the year. So keeping like discounts and value at the forefront without just like blasting discounts out all the time. So that's where customer data becomes really important. Segmenting, getting smarter about where you're spending, all the tests and learning that you've been doing for the last year or two, use those learnings so that you're really, making your marketing dollars work hard for you. So
if you have a higher end product, it costs more money than obviously a meal. Do you think about that as a price break to get some people in, or is it more about just keeping consistent and just showing the value of it?
Yeah, I think it's really around the latter part, right? So my advice would be run the play, right?
Yeah.
Back to brilliant basics. Fundamentals haven't changed in terms of what the consumer needs, what inspires them to take action, right? Why Invisalign treatment versus braces? Run the play.
Love it. And you're specifically B2B. What do you suggest to your team here?
I don't want them to gain another yard. No, I'm trying to summon my Remember the Titans moment there. No, I think buckle up is a really good way to put it. There's enormous pent-up demand out there in the world for live experiences, for live. How good does it feel to be back in action doing this and having this week here in Phoenix and in Glendale and in Scottsdale? I think that we're Sodexo proper. It's a $20 billion corporation, and our little piece of it here in North America is a very small part of that. But we see enormous potential in the power of live events in the next year, the next 2-3 years, as people want to get back to traveling, want to get back to experiencing things together. There's only so few things that can be replicated virtually, and we are one of those industries that really cannot be. I think that people are going to be flocking back to venues and to events, and it's our responsibility to meet them and meet them at that moment and really bring our A game. So I think the stakes are increased for us because of the pressure we feel to really have sports be that unifier and really help with the global healing of the global psyche per se in the next few years.
Well, life and marketing is a game of inches, that's for sure. All right, so culture is also diversity. What are the best ways to speak to audiences across all walks of life for using diverse publishers, creators, different sports platforms, that different audiences? What do you guys think about when going after your consumers?
Yeah, I'll start here and I say brands that move at the speed of culture are the brands that really end up winning in the long run, right? So in order to be a brand, in order to be a team, a marketer that understands what culture is, we all have to be consumers of culture. And part of being consumers of culture is really understanding the people at a people level, right? We as marketers will use a lot of words, consumers, audiences, and all these fancy words that we all get enamored with. But at the end of the day, the people who buy our products are people, right? Getting to know people, getting to know their stories, getting to know their why. That's really how I think we're going to make progress as we think about DE&I. And then also as leaders, really thinking about where we're getting our input and where we're getting our advice and coaching and insights from, really ensuring that the composition of our teams reflects the composition of the communities that we are hoping to earn the right to be a part of their lives and their conversations.
Sage words.
Yeah, for us, we're a service-based company. People are our greatest asset. So we certainly, invest heavily in ensuring that people who come to work for us, it's not just a temporary stop for, they don't view it as a job. We want people to really grow and start as bartenders, as waiters, and grow and have a real career in the hospitality world. So we really doubled down on providing those resources and trying to differentiate from our competitors in the space. Obviously from the DE&I standpoint, it's top of mind for all of our venues. At F1 Miami in a few months, we actually are going to have 15 local minority-owned restaurant partners that we're going to introduce in the next few months, gradually roll them out. They'll all have a spot on the campus. It's a really, every city and every country that we serve, it has to be, uniquely authentic to that region, and so DE&I and having real authenticity for what we provide is crucial to our everyday.
Anything to add?
Yeah. So on the same page as them, but also to what you were saying, like, you can reach diverse audiences through your creators that you're working with, you're targeting, all of that. I think in the restaurant space, it's also like your access. So opening up more access to different groups, having stores in different neighborhoods, or if you don't have a store location near certain neighborhoods, providing more like digital access, right? So being able to order for delivery, pickup. So it's just about, and then also listening to your consumers. So for me, consumer insights is so critical to the business. Finding new audiences or groups that maybe you haven't been reaching before, and really focus your strategy on reaching them. And then internally, having diverse teams and actually listening to your teams. And for us, franchisees, owners, operators, really getting their input and bringing that into the fold with the business strategy as well.
So I have one last question, then we'll open up for the questions from the group here. Talk about cultural impact. How do you measure cultural impact? How do you determine if you caused, is it something as basic as sales and views? Is it UGC? Is it people's, brand affinity or attention? How do you guys think about it?
You can go first. Yeah, a little bit of all of that. I think it just depends on the campaign or the activation. So, what your KPIs are. I think if it's like a big, some influencer campaign, or like the Jack Harlow KFC meal, right, in the U.S. Looking at the media impressions, also all the way down to like how many orders did that drive, like how many new customers did it drive to the app. And then in the long term, looking at like our brand tracker to see what affinities we're driving in the long term, and where we're coming up against our competition in terms of being seen as a brand in culture. So a little bit of everything.
Same.
Yeah, all of the above. I mean, I think it obviously my PR hat tells me it's about the headlines and the quality of the media coverage and the impressions and how many people are seeing what we're talking about. But in reality, it comes back to driving sales. The Maniac Burger, yes, we're selling 20,000, let's say, burgers. How does that compare to the year before? And how is that actually driving business? And how is that driving the bottom line for our teams and our partners? It really all comes back to that, and it always will. It always will. So yeah.
Yeah, I'll just build and say it's all of those things, and obviously it's going to go back to sales and revenue and bottom line, right, and top line. But I think in the long run, tying it back to being a part of culture, it's really becoming a part of the language that people use, right? So when we say, well, I'll Google it, that's a great sign of being a part of culture, right? TikTok made me buy it. Great sign in terms of being a part of culture.
If your brand becomes a verb, kind of like Invisalign,
Venmo.
Actually. Yeah.
I'll Venmo you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like if you become that verb and really ensure that there's affinity, and that's the key, right? Affinity, so that people do not want to buy anything else and will not settle for anything else. I think to me, that's the real true test.
Culture impact, become a verb. I love it. All right, so questions from the audience. Anyone? Do we answer everything?
Obviously, huge benefit of partnering with a league, a team, or an athlete is the borrowed equity that a brand derives. In today's climate, do you think there's more borrowed equity in partnering with a league or partnering with the athletes that play in a league?
I have my own thoughts, but anyone else want to jump in first? Or?
Go for it.
Thank you, sir. So we do a lot in the NIL space. So we think about a college, has their alma mater and has all their alumni. But individual athletes, whether they're there for 1 year or all 4 years, as a kind of a proxy what you're saying, they have their own custom audience of people that have seen them as, super men or women. They've driven something that has captured imagination, whether it's on the field or off the field, and being able to tap into that is something that I think, while there's value in being an Eagles fan or being a Chiefs fan, an individual, you can actually follow them wherever they go, whether they go across multiple teams, and even the data was something for attention metrics. If you look at a brand's owned and operated account at, Pepsi or Coke, and then you look at a creator's @ handle, about 50% higher attention, valid and viewable impressions, sound on, view through rate is going to happen from an individual, just the way that people respond back to humans outside of institutions or brands. So obviously we're a little biased. I work with all the leagues, but individuals, I think married to marks are always kind of the best case, but those cost a lot of money. So.
Yeah, I would just build on that and say I think having both is always the best of both worlds, right? You get the benefits in both ways, but my own personal opinion, I would start first with the athletes and the creators, because it goes back to that storytelling and that authenticity, right? If there's a natural fit for your brand where you have the natural win in there, right? That's going to make for some amazing content. Then at some point you're going to get to a place where you say, okay, well, I just need to broaden my reach, in which case that league sponsorship really helps you out. And we're an NFL league partner, really proud of that. But we wouldn't have that deep storytelling without the athlete piece.
That's great. Anyone else? Round of applause.
Round of applause.